Great stuff. Tom, welcome back. What was your second Barnsley debut like?
It was surreal. I think, like I say, I've always looked back fondly on Barnsley, and it's always a club that I've followed from afar. I probably didn't think I've never been back to a former club, so it was a new experience for me. But like I say, the bones of the club are still very much the same. I mean, things are in different rooms and stuff now, but but it was a surreal sort of day, sort of coming back and sort of speaking to Con and seeing a few old faces and just sort of just an absolute throwback. But I've absolutely loved it so far.
Yeah, you seem to have had a good reaction from the supporters. I imagine that'll help.
It always does. I think it's like I left Barnsley. It was 8 years ago. Very much, I think I had a good relationship with the fans. I think one thing I'm happy with is obviously sometimes when a player leaves a club, there can be some animosity and bad feeling, and I don't think I had that with the Barnsley fans. And it's always good to have the fans support, because ultimately they're the ones either cheering you or booing you every game. So yeah, I'm very grateful to the fans, and hopefully I can provide some goals for them.
Yeah, different relationship now as well with Connor from the player to the manager. What's that been like over the last week or so?
Yeah, it's been taking some adjustment. Obviously, the last time I was here, he was my captain. Sort of one of the teammates in the locker room, but now calling him Gaffer it still hasn't really. it's still, my brain still gets caught between Con and the Gaffer, but. He's obviously a young manager, but he clearly knows what he's doing. All the analysis meetings, training, it's a pleasure to watch, to be honest. Let's say seeing him go from a player to a manager, and I'll give everything I can on the pitch for him.
How is 33-year-old Tom Bradshaw different to 23-year-old Tom Bradshaw?
It's funny, actually. It's I feel like I'm a better player now than what I was when I was back here. Obviously, with experience, you learn a lot in football, and it's more just about sort of, especially as a striker, your movement, your timings, and also, like I say, just having that experience means you can sort of be calmer in moments. So I think, like I say, I'm probably less rash than what I was when I was 24. Sort of, I'd say more composed. Only slight difference is I've got to look after my recovery a little bit better than what I did when I was 24. So,
what are the hopes from this move for you? I imagine because of the kind of lack of playing time in the first half of the season, it's just about more minutes on the pitch, getting scoring. But is it more than that?
No, I think for me as a footballer, first and foremost, I want to play football. Like I say, it was a frustrating time for me at Oxford, albeit, like I say, I've got good relationships at the club. It was frustrating with lack of minutes. And like I say, my goal is to play games, to help the lads, and try and get Barnsley as high up the table as I can possibly help and get.
And you're a mere youth, really, in comparison to David McGoldrick. That must be nice to walk into.
It was fun. On the first day, he said, "How are we, young man?" And I thought, God, no one's called me young man for a long time. but I think obviously the outside perspective on age in football is once you sort of turn 30, 31, you're kind of past. And I think that's a myth in football these days in terms of the amount of stuff that we have available to us and the way that footballers look after their bodies these days. I think it allows you to play for a lot longer. Like I say, physically, I feel great. Like I say, it was my first 90 minutes in a while on Saturday, and I felt physically really good. So I think as long as you look after yourself and you maintain your body well, then you should be fine.
Are you looking forward to working with Diggsy? Because clearly he's had an incredible career. You know, he's already putting up some numbers after coming back here. You know, I imagine you can both bring a lot to that relationship.
100%. I think, like I say, I've played against Diggsy quite a few times over the years. And we've got a lot of mutual friends, as everyone sort of who's been in football for longer than sort of 5 years does. And like I say, he's from like I say, from watching from afar, he's been brilliant since coming to the club. So it's like I say, it's a relationship that I want to nurture, and hopefully the way that we play together will only get better and better.
And I know you mentioned kind of how you felt after the weekend, but there's going to be a lot of expectation, a lot of workload on both of you two. Are you ready for that? Because there's clearly still a heck of a lot of football to be played, particularly in the next month, but over the next few months.
Yeah, definitely. I like to say for me personally, I've always been in sort of teams with slightly smaller squads. So when schedules get busy, it naturally falls on a lot of the players. So that's something that I've came here for. It's something that is exactly what I wanted. Is a lot of games, and like I say, hopefully I can help the team.
Clearly, at the minute, the team's struggling from a defensive perspective. Is that something that you feel like, with your experience, leadership, character, set plays, all that kind of stuff, that you can really help the lads to improve that element of the game?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've always been a big advocate of you attack as a team and you defend as a team. So I think in terms of whether we concede goals or whether we score goals, it's on the whole team. It's not just the defence or the attackers. So that's something I can definitely hope I can bring into the team, of sort of another voice and leadership, and just sort of if we do concede at one point, make sure we don't compact our mistakes and we sort of stay in the game for 5-10 minutes and then we go again. And I think, like I say, there's a lot of great characters in the dressing room already, and hopefully I can just be an extra voice on the pitch that can help get through sort of difficult moments as well as good moments.
Yeah, it's been 3 months since the club last won a league game away from home. It'd be nice to do that only in your second game with the club, wouldn't it?
It'd be fantastic. That's what we're planning on doing tomorrow.
In terms of the rest of the season, though, look, Barnsley's still looking over the shoulder a little bit at the minute. I think you'll probably tell me it's one game at a time and all that kind of stuff. It'd be nice to get up to that 50-point mark as quickly as possible, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the first things I noticed when I was coming to Barnsley, was obviously the amount of games in hand that the club had due to sort of international breaks, etc. But yeah, I'm confident in the team, more than confident in the team. Like I say, I've seen a few games now, and like I say, it was obviously a slow start for us on Saturday, but obviously in the second half we showed what we're capable of, and that's away from home against one of the best teams in the league. So I fully back us, and like I say, I'm sure with the games coming up, we're going to pick up a lot of points.
Yeah, for your first game back, it went off an unusual one, wasn't it? I'm pretty sure that you and the rest of the group want to focus on that second half a lot more than the first in terms of going forward.
Yeah, I think that's something we're aware of. Is sometimes we can have slow starts, and like I said, that's not uncommon in football. I've been involved in a lot of teams that sometimes you can start slowly, and I think it's quite a quick fix, an easy fix, and like I say, we'll be working hard to put that right.
Great to see you back, Tom. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you, chaps. Thank you very much.
Tom, just a few from me. How did the move come about? Was it always one that was sort of potential for a while, or was it quite quick?
It was really quick. So I think for me, I was speaking to my agent a lot over the window. Obviously, I was frustrated with the first half of the season at Oxford, and we were always sort of in talks about a possible loan in January, which I think I needed. I mean, 6 months in football is a long time just to sort of be sat chomping at the bit to get on the pitch. So we had quite a few loan options, and then when Barnsley came up, I said to my agent straight away, and this isn't me just saying it because I'm at the club. I think for me, I've never been on loan in my career, so this is my first. And I said to my agent, I want somewhere where I can feel comfortable and I can settle in and hit the ground running. And I think, like I say, with the history I've got with Barnsley, that was a no-brainer for me. And then obviously I spoke to Con, and we spoke a bit about football and what he expects of me and what I'd like from the club. And it was really quick, to be honest. But although it was quite late, it was probably about 3-4 days before the end of the window. Like I say, it was a bit of a no-brainer for me.
And Connor, back when you were playing with him, obviously, he was in his 20s then, but did you even see then, you're obviously quite a driven sort of person, did you see that he had the makings of a manager even back then?
100%. I can still remember one of my first training sessions when I signed here 10 years ago. You could see the real leadership qualities. Obviously, you don't become captain of a football club if you haven't got them. But there's players you sort of meet and play with in your career where you think they'll be a great manager, and Con was one of those for me.
Obviously, a lot's been talked about already about yourself and McGoldrick being the only strikers, and regardless of sort of what age you are, obviously there's a lot of games coming up. You haven't played too much. Has there sort of been a talk about sort of managing minutes, maybe more than usual, just to make sure that obviously you have to avoid injuries?
Not to me so far. Like I say, there are a lot of games. Obviously, I've seen the schedule. It's pretty much Saturday, Tuesdays, bar a couple of weeks until pretty much the end of the season. But again, that's not something. I'm sure Didzy's the same. It's something that I've dealt with in my whole career. Like I say, I've generally been in small squads. So Saturday, Tuesdays are just a part of football. So it's not something that I'm stressing about. If anything, I'm really looking forward to it.
Bolton, good to get obviously 90 minutes in your legs, and you had that chance when Barnsley was sort of launching that comeback, saved by the goalkeeper. Do you feel like that'll just come, and hopefully in a few weeks you'll stick a few away? Yes,
it's been a long time since I've been sort of playing regularly on a football pitch, like for me. So it was great for me to sort of feel my body in the moment of sort of playing 90 minutes, and I think it was great for me just to sort of get that first game sort of done and crack the rust off, and like I say, look forward to scoring lots more goals between now and the end of the season.
Definitely. Just going back to your first spell quickly, I mean, you sort of where Barnsley sort of came in your career, I think it was your first chance at championship level, so sort of a big moment to make that step up, and you must be fond of the club because of that.
Yeah, definitely. It's something I'm always grateful to the club for. Like I say, it's a lot harder than I think it's sort of known from outside the football world. The Championship's a very, very good league. It's very competitive, and for Barnsley to give me the opportunity to play in it, and like I say, it's an opportunity that I'll always be grateful for. And like I said, that allowed me to sort of play in the Championship for the last 10 years and have some great memories and great experiences. So it's like I say, I'm in debt to the club, and it's something that I'd like to try and pay back.
Any games or goals from your first game that really stick out as the main highlights? For your first spell,
There's a few, obviously the local derby goals. Like I said, the Sheffield United 3-2 winner at home, Leeds at home on telly, Rotherham obviously being my first Championship goal, and obviously the two against Aston Villa for me personally was obviously with a big chunk of my family being Aston Villa fans, and they were actually sat in the Holt End that night. So to score in front of the Holt End for Barnsley was that's one of my probably best career memories.
And last question for me: when you came through last time, there were a lot of young talents sort of coming through, and there are now as well. Some really highly rated, very young players at 20 or 21, first sort of week in the building. Have you sort of seen that and noticed that and been impressed by it?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, there's a lot of talent at the football club, and like I say, it's something as an older head and that you sort of appreciate and see if there's any ways that you can help them out as well, and sort of try and guide them or help with the experience that you've got. And like I say, I've only been at the club for 5 or 6 days, but it's something that I'd love to help the younger lads, and if there's any way that I can, especially sort of the attacking players, like I say, from my perspective, where I can offer more advice. I'd love to do that.
Right, thank you, Tom. Cheers, mate.
Hi, Tom. Welcome back. I've not got too many. I was thinking, do you think your game's changed in the last 10 years? Are you a different player now than you were when you first came to Barnsley?
I think for me, not so much. It's something that I've always kind of said is I've never hugely relied on pace. I've never been sort of lightning quick, so I've always had to sort of hone in on sort of movement as opposed to just raw pace. So I think that's something that I probably wished I had in the first half of my career, but in the second half, it actually proves good for me in terms of I've never had to rely on too much of it. So it's more just about my movement. So in terms of my game, hasn't particularly changed too much. I feel like I'm sort of stronger now than what I was when I was last at Barnsley. And like I said, I'd like to say more composed, but that's purely just with experience, really. So I don't think it's changed too much. Just slightly more experience in terms of sort of knowing what to do in the right moments.
Yeah, I mean, you come to a club, it's in a little bit of transition. There's a few concerns from supporters. I guess from your time at Millwall, you've got the respect of the fan base there, and you have to be really mentally strong and be a strong individual to sort of do well and cope there, and not just be a technically good player. That must have, for your career, that holds you in good stead, doesn't it? Really? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, like I say, Millwall was a big part of my career. Obviously, spending sort of 7.5 years there, and really putting sort of roots down with my family. But like I say, they're a fan base that demands a lot, and like I say, not just technically, but sort of blood, sweat, and tears. And like I say, that was somewhere for me where I felt like I sort of grew from sort of a boy to a man in terms of you've either got to deal with it and cope, or you fold and leave the club. And like I say, for me, that was a big sort of growing up spell for me in terms of learning how to sort of really sort of stay in the Championship. And like I say, just the honest parts of football, not necessarily the passing, the shooting, the scoring, just the putting in the 100% effort into everything that you do. And that's somewhere that I really realised that's fans really appreciate when they can see that you're putting absolutely everything into it, whether you're winning or losing. So yeah, I think that's holds me in good stead, and that's something I really want to sort of try and sort of pass on and instill in younger players.
You've obviously got a connection with Barnsley, but sort of helping Connor as well. I mean, he's a good guy. He's at the start of his managerial journey. That's the sort of law as well, isn't it? Yeah,
100%. And like I say, I mean, like Connor for me was always a great leader on the pitch. If ever we were sort of backs against the wall on the pitch, and obviously we had a few games like that in the Championship because it was tough games. He was always the man that we looked to for sort of leadership, and like I say, that's quite easily transitioned over to being a manager. And I think, like I say, I don't envy a position of being a manager anywhere across the country. It's not something that appeals to me personally, but it's a high stress job. You're spinning plates constantly, and I think if there's any sort of player that I've played with who can deal with that and thrive off that, it's Connor.
Do you see this move as sort of maybe in the shop window a little bit? You do well, and then who knows what can happen in the summer? Where you sort of at with a move in terms of your career and sort of next season, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm hungry to play football. I think, like I say, from an outside perspective, some people think 33 is probably just after something comfy or whatever. That's not. I think that's very, very individual. I think for me, I feel physically great. Like I've still got the hunger to sort of go out there, play, score goals, put my body on the line. And I think a day that changes is a day I'll have a sort of different view on where my career wants to go. But I'm here to play. I'm here to score goals, and I'm here to help the team. And that's what my sort of plan is at the moment.
Yeah, you've always been a good talker. I remember the time when you were first at Barnsley. Have you sort of, I mean, you want to play as long as you can, but have you sort of thought about considered coaching that side of it yet?
Yeah, it's not necessarily for me. I think I definitely want to stay in football. I think managing and coaching isn't really the route that I want to go down. Mainly for sort of family reasons, really. I think it takes a lot out of your family in terms of sort of moving all over the country, especially with, like I say, I've got a 7-year-old daughter, so I don't want to sort of be moving her schools and stuff like that. But it's like I say, for me, I know a lot about football. I know a lot of people in football, and I think it'd be a waste not to sort of utilise that in some way. But I'm hoping that's some way in the distance still.